take advantage of every unexpected opportunity has been a mantra of mine since I was a little girl. I'll learn to love it. If not, I'll spend a year there or learn a lot, and then I'll move on to the next thing.
Kayla Becker is a powerful example of resilience and ambition. Her story is an incredible reminder that where you start doesn't have to define where you're headed. Born in a small Alabama town and placed in foster care at a young age, she refused to let her circumstances limit her future. With a passion for storytelling and an undeniable spark, Kayla rose to the world of broadcast journalism before becoming one of WWE's most beloved personalities as Kayla Braxton. For nearly a decade, she brought authenticity, heart, and quick wit to millions of fans around the world. Now, in a bold new chapter, she's traded backstage interviews for raw, unfiltered conversations as the co-host of Milk and Honeys, a podcast pulling back the curtain on life in Hollywood. Kayla's journey is proof that resilience and vision can turn any setback into a setup for something greater.
Just keep learning. I think in any industry, it's something a lot of people, it leads to a lot of failure when people think they get their foot in the door and then they can stop hustling and stop learning. The way, especially the entertainment industry, is constantly evolving. Learning early in the career, just never stop trying to learn like what's new and what's next, because there's people on your heels who are going to come and take your job who are ready to.
This is Andro Mammo. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Today, I have the honor of going one-on-one with media personality, Kayla Becker.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting. It's always weird being on this side of the mic. So.
Right? No, it's a trip. It's different, but you have such an incredible story. And like I told you before we sat down, it's been such an honor for me to like watch you, but then to have you in here is such a full circle thing for me. I'm very grateful.
That means a lot. It's nice to know after spending so much time doing something that someone was watching and that hopefully helped inspire. So
no, it did.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one too. So
you might be.
No, I don't think I am. But Kayla, my first question for you is, when is the first time that you realized you were passionate about something, and what was it?
Well, I think you and I have a similar story from the little bit that I've gotten to know you. I was 9 years old, and I knew that I wanted to be in the media in front of people sharing stories. That was a huge moment for me. It was, I'm sure you've done plenty of research, and those who are watching this and they know anything about me, they've heard this story 1,000 times. But that's when I discovered public speaking. And I had competed in my first public speaking competition without telling everybody. It was the first thing I had done post moving to a foster family away from my biological family. And my foster family was so proud of me for winning this thing. They didn't even know what I was going out for, because I was afraid if I told them and I lost, they'd be disappointed in me. They wouldn't have been, but that was just my rationale. And they were so, so proud. And that was the first time I had experienced an adult like be proud of me for something. And I was like, oh, well, I want to make people proud of me for the rest of my life, so this is what we're going to do. And so from little bushy-haired, 3'5" Kayla, waving a big purple ribbon, winning my first public speaking contest, to now, I've kind of stayed on that track.
No, I think that's so cool. And I want to know about that. Like, did you initially take the initiative to say, you know what, I'm going to enter myself into this contest and see what happens? Or was it more of a situation where somebody presented it to you, put you in that situation, and then you kind of like swam or you sunk?
Well, I never really competed in anything. I was a smart kid, but prior to foster care, I didn't really have anyone there to push me. So like I went to school when I felt like it, didn't really do, classes. I ended up in a special ed class, which, by the way, I didn't figure out who put me in that class when I was in the 3rd grade, because I did not belong there. Anyway, I graduated high school as valedictorian, but back it up a little bit. So when I was in the 4th grade in Wadley, Alabama, this tiny little town of 400 people, there's this program called 4-H. I don't remember what that stands for. But anyway, it's like you can compete in like sewing or agriculture or whatever, home ec stuff. But public speaking was one of the options. And because I was a lazy kid at that time, I was like, I don't really want to sew anything or hammer anything or go play with cows in a pasture. public speaking seems easy enough. So we were required to choose one that was part of the curriculum. So I was like, I guess I'll do this public speaking thing. I don't know any of these kids in my class. This will give me a good chance to like introduce myself and tell people kind of who I am. So I decided to do public speaking. And again, I didn't tell my foster parents I was doing this. And then the day came for the public speaking contest, and I noticed all the kids were like reading off note cards. And I was like, I'm a really good memorizer. I have like a little bit of like, photographic memory. I can memorize. That helped me a lot in WWE.
No way.
Because I was given a script, and I literally 2 minutes before we went live.
I think that's a superpower.
I mean, I got to exercise it a little bit as I've gotten older. It's kind of not there as much anymore. But as a kid, I could like look at something and see it in front of me.
That's pretty cool.
So I got up there and I did my speech, looking everybody in the eye. And then I think that alone is why I won. And I won the contest. And then, got to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, myself down the driveway and show off my ribbon. But yeah, no one told me to do it. But that was, after that, I was encouraged to continue. So throughout high school, I was so popular, and I was a competitive public speaker, but better than the jocks. And then ended up speaking in the White House and went to the Oval Office and hung out with President Bush and did a speech, and then ended up getting a scholarship to Belmont University, broadcast journalism. And I mean, the rest is history. It all started from that like very defining moment and making that decision at a very young age to go speak in front of my class instead of bring in a freshly sewed outfit.
Can we go back to that very moment? Like, obviously, I think when you're throwing yourself in a situation that's not necessarily comfortable, it's a situation where you sink or you swim. Everything that you did early on, the competition, going to the White House, doing the speech, would you say that prepared you in a way for the career that you would eventually have?
Oh, I mean, of course. I mean, this is where I gained my confidence to be able to speak in front of people with confidence. I mean, one of the earliest public speaking engagements I had, the foster care organization that I was raised in was called Wind Shape Homes.
Okay.
And it was founded by the founder of Chick-fil-A, Truett Cathy. And so when Truett Cathy got wind that I was doing public speaking and he was coming out with these books and he was going on the road, he thought, let's bring Kayla along to be kind of the spokesperson and speak on behalf of the foster children that he has taken in. And so 6th grade, I was speaking in front of a bunch of businessmen at a Guidepost magazine awards dinner, and then I was speaking in front of all of these businessmen at like a Stanford University business dinner.
That's crazy. Did you realize at the time, like at such a young age, like the magnitude of all of these things that you were a part of?
I was worried about what cute suit I was going to get because every time I got to go get a new cute suit. No, I think my foster parents did a good job of they kept me really humble with it. Like, I think looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was jet setting around the country, hanging out with like these movers and shakers in all the industries and getting to be like the keynote speaker. And I was just like, this is just what I do. I don't think I understood the magnitude of it back then. Now when I look back, I realize, wow, if it weren't for those moments, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
That's crazy. Did you have nerves at that time?
I did. I have more now.
Really?
Back then I just think it was such a like, oh, this is just what I'm supposed to do.
No way.
And my foster father was who really helped me with like the public speaking writing. Like really learned how to write back then, and he helped kind of mold my delivery and what I was, speaking out into the masses. I don't remember being like, I mean, of course a little bit, but I don't ever remember being like, okay, I can't do it. I'm too nervous.
Yeah. And I mean, when you were feeling nerves, how would you overcome?
Like back then, I mean, I really don't remember. Okay. I'm pretty sure I probably found my parents and my dad. He thinks he's so funny. He's like the typical dad joker who just regurgitates dad jokes. He's like, just imagine everybody's naked. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'd rather not.
That'll scare me. That'll scare me even more.
It might scare me a little bit more, or I just giggle the entire time.
You never know.
But no, I just feel like and maybe because knew I was speaking in front of like not my peers. I think speaking in front of my peers is a lot more terrifying for me. Like I spoke for baccalaureate when I graduated from college, and all of my best friends are just in the front row, just like laughing, not being mean, just like, oh my gosh, Kayla's up there doing the speech. Like let's watch her mess up. I felt that.
I mean, as a kid, I was in similar positions. Like I grew up interviewing. I didn't tell anybody I interviewed.
Oh, okay.
Just because it was like one of those things that unfortunately I was bullied for. So growing up, it was like one of those things that I just had to protect myself against. But I look back and I'm like, damn, like I don't even know how I did a lot of those things. Like, and I'm sure you know this too, as a kid, when you're like the weird kid, you kind of have to do everything that you possibly can to just exceed everybody's like expectations.
Yeah, it's true. And also it's something, which clearly it was for you, that's so ingrained in you. It just becomes a natural thing that you do, whether people are like looking, laughing, or how they feel about it. It's just, I think it's a gift to be able to do that, because as we know, people who've been around the bend for a lot longer than we have, it's one of the biggest fears they've ever had is to put the microphone in their hand and speak to people. So
no, it really is a challenge sometimes. And I really look back at the times like when I was younger, and I'm so appreciative of those times, just because if I didn't like interview when I was younger, then I'd be so terrified to start at this point in my life.
No, for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, like, let's talk about your incredible career. So you're an incredible media personality, but you said that you've had interest since you were 9 years old. I want to know, like, what was the first thing that you remember seeing that just gave you that interest in saying, you know what, like, maybe I'm going to pursue this?
I wanted to be Oprah Winfrey.
No kidding.
I used to say it every day. One day, I'm going to grow up and have my own talk show just like Oprah Winfrey.
Still possible.
It's still possible. Well, I had my own talk show with WWE, which was like my first like big, like, oh my God, I had like the bump. But yeah, I love just like watching Oprah and just the way like people were just drawn to her and how she was able just to pull everybody into everything she was saying, and she was inspiring people. It was just, as a little girl watching that, especially as a little girl of color and seeing a woman of color, and especially in that time, just like have just such this, you know, magnetism about her. Of course I wanted to do that.
And let's talk about that. Like, so early on, at the start of your career, 9 years old, let's put it at that time.
My career started at 9 years old.
I mean, it really did. In many ways, it really did.
I didn't start getting paid for it until I was.
But let's look back, right? So the goals that you had at that time in your life, as opposed to the goals that you have at this stage in your career, how have they evolved?
For the most part, it's. I mean, I think at 9, I wasn't sure if I was going to like what element of media that was going to, like, there was a little bit of me like later in high school where I considered like using my communication skills to like launch into like a law school and go like maybe do law. I worked at the American Bar Association for one summer and decided absolutely not. Just because you're good at arguing with people doesn't mean you should be a lawyer.
Yeah, no.
And then I think I just always knew entertainment, lifestyle. Like, I minored in sports broadcast media, so I thought maybe I'd do sports. Ended up, of course, in WWE, which is just the perfect marriage of the two. But I mean, I can honestly say, like, everything besides, like, right now, like, I'm taking a little time to reevaluate and pivot. I did that in between WWE and the job before that. Took some time off to kind of pivot. I mean, I've spent the last decades just really just staying on the same little path.
That's really beautiful, though. Like, if you really kind of take some time to really think about that, because I feel like, especially, I mean, I'll talk about people my age, like, what they want to do is something that's constantly changing for them, because it's, unfortunately, I feel like sometimes people my age would rather take like the quick road getting somewhere, as opposed to like really, like, for example, like you going to college, paving your own path, like making a name for yourself, as opposed to like overnight success.
Well, it's hard. Like, when I was coming, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay, so we're about a decade apart. So when I was coming up, there was no TikTok, and YouTube had just started kind of getting started, and I tried being a famous YouTuber. But all those things didn't exist, and so the notion of overnight success is real. We see it every day where these kids hop on, do a TikTok trend, and the next thing you know, they're bringing home $100,000 a month.
Right. And
so I didn't have that to even think about being a backup plan, and I'm really grateful that I didn't, because it did force me to take initiative and work and find my own ways in. So I think nowadays, this generation, it's a blessing and a curse for them. I think you're doing what I was doing back then. Like, you're like, okay, these doors aren't opening. A compliment. But no, you were like, when I was in college, I was like, okay, I can't. People aren't just handing out jobs on TV. I tried to get my foot in the door. Let's just start my own show, which I was What's Going Down in Bruintown.
And Nashville Views.
And the Kayla Becker show, and that's all what ultimately caught the attention of a top 20 news organization in the entire country, and an NBC affiliate who wanted me to come do a show for them.
Yeah, like, and I mean, let's talk about that though. Like, What's Going Down in Bruintown, Nashville Views.
Wow, you've done your research.
You
digged up some archives. I need you to send me the links. I need to scrub those from the internet. What have you found?
Also, let me just say, we had a mutual interview at the same time. One of my first interviews growing up was GloZell.
Oh my God! I have a funny story about GloZell that she doesn't even know.
No way. Could we tell that?
I can tell it. Yeah.
We'll talk about it. We'll come back to it.
It's not even about GloZell. It's about what happened getting to that interview that I had with her.
I had a crazy situation leading up to that interview too.
It might be GloZell. It might be the GloZell.
Yeah. No, but I want to know, like, when you think back about like what's going down in Bruintown, Nashville Views, the Kayla Becker show, and you look at that journey that you have walked upon, right? When you look at those shows, how do you feel at this point in your life? Like, making those shows what they were, and then getting the recognition from the affiliate, the NBC affiliate, and in a lot of ways, kind of like getting that recognition to say, you know what, like, yeah, my hard work is gonna lead me to where I need to get to.
I'm so glad I did it. Like, I had a mentor. His name is Shane Talent. He was an on-air personality in Nashville. I don't remember where he was working, maybe for CMT, but I knew him through some other mutual friends. And I always told him, I want to do what you're doing one day, man. Like, you know, his wife at the time was also like a big news personality. And I was like, this is like it. And he's like, we just need to start it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, create a concept. You have YouTube now. Put up a 5-minute video. Just hit the start button. I was like, oh, it's so hard to start, like, with anything. And so finally I was like, okay, let me think of a concept. I'm at Belmont University. It's like this home of like some of the top musicians in the country, like all these like the great like athletes, talk to these professors. I'm like, this is a breeding ground for like some pretty successful people. Right. And then I love a good pun and a rhyme. Like, I went through a little like, I'm going to be a rapper stage too, but that's another story for another day. But I was like, what's going down in Bruintown? And I was like, that's great. And then because it was like I was doing so much, and I started doing like red carpets and other events and like talking to small businesses in Nashville, I'm like, oh, this needs to like be a bigger name. So that was Nashville View. And I was like, this is now going to be about me. So that's where the Kayla Becker show was born. So, and again, if it weren't for those shows, it wouldn't have caught the attention, because they love seeing people who can take initiative. At the time, I would produce, shoot, host, edit. I did everything. Being a one-man band.
Me, literally.
Yeah, and like you can't find those. And you can't find them for as cheap as they got me. Because I was like, you don't have to pay me anything, I just want to work.
No, I learned that early on about you, like, having to take initiative, one, but also being a one-man band.
Yeah.
So I tell this story all the time, but I was obsessed with news as a kid.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
I called KTLA every single day until they brought me in. But the condition was, like, they called my mom and they were like, okay, we'll bring him in, but he needs to stop calling. But I was like, okay, great. That's my way in. And then it's similar to, like, my mentor was Big Boy. He has a radio show here in Los Angeles. It's syndicated across the nation. But I interviewed him when I was 13, and I would just go into the studio like once a week and just sit in the corner and just observe like how he was doing what he was doing. And that was the way that I got like my experience, was just like learning hands-on in the ways that these guys just did their thing.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You don't take no for an answer.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I see no as just kind of like the lead in to the yes. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good. That works in most situations in life.
literally.
Don't use that in all situations
There's
in
a
life.
fine line. But I feel like sometimes you have to...
For your career, that's a great...
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, so 2 questions off that one.
Okay.
Rapper name.
Oh my gosh, this is really embarrassing. It was also my screen name. I'm really embarrassed. I had 2.
What was it?
One. So I'm biracial. I'm half black and I'm half white. And I was Hot Little Mocha. A little bit of black, a little bit of white with a whole lot of flavor.
Whoa, that's pretty good.
And the other one, there was this rapper growing up who went by the name, I think he was a Christian rapper, but it went by the name of T-Bone. So I was Pork Chop.
Pork Chop.
Yeah.
Oh
my God. Scrub this in.
Well,
that's so bad.
That's not bad.
No. Did you?
I was Macho Man Andro.
Okay.
For my interviews.
I like.
Because I used to love the Macho Man.
Okay.
So
I like it.
Macho Man Andro, but then it gets to a point where it's kind of like, it just became a joke. Like, you're the least macho person.
Oh, God.
Yeah, especially as a kid, like little scrawny me.
Being macho. I like it. Hey, you are how you feel.
No, literally. It's all about, I mean, perception is reality. I'm sure you know a lot about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, when you look back at the early years of your career, what did they teach you?
Just keep learning. I think in any industry, it's something a lot of people, it leads to a lot of failure when people think they get their foot in the door and then they can stop hustling and stop learning. The way, especially the entertainment industry, is constantly evolving. You have to make sure you're up to date on the latest. Like right now, so I've started this little podcast, this little YouTube show. Oh my gosh, it's like full circle. I'm going back to YouTube. But just while I'm waiting for the new year to start and like real work to start, I love scary movies. So I thought, let me just like talk and just like keep an online presence. But having to relearn YouTube, relearn like shorts and relearn how to like edit with this new software. It's like, man, with WWE, I took a break from all of that because it just wasn't something like we weren't really allowed to do anything outside of WWE. And I didn't have to do any of that. So having to relearn how to be creative, I'm so glad I'm being forced to do it because I want to be ready to like hit the ground running. But yeah, I would say learning early in the career, just never stop trying to learn like what's new and what's next because there's people on your heels who are going to come and take your job who are ready to. Like this guy is taking my job.
Stop.
No, Andro.
Not even. I think we'd make like a great team.
Well, yeah.
Tag team.
Okay, we'll tag team. There we go.
No. So, okay. So university, great experience for you, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then you took that time off and then you get approached by the WWE, correct?
So that was after my news job.
Okay. So I've learned that you weren't necessarily like a wrestling fan.
Never watched it in my life.
So when a company like the WWE approaches you, are you kind of like a little like, I don't really know about this? Or are you more of like the mentality, I'll take any opportunity that I get?
No, and this is on plenty of interviews too. I think it got me in trouble with WWE a few times because I was so open about it. But I said no.
I think it was good though to be real about it.
Well, and that's it. And that's what I wanted to be very like transparent with. Like I understand why WWE is like, don't tell people you don't want to work here. We're the best place to work in the world.
Yeah.
Well, like maybe for people who have watched wrestling their entire lives, but for me, I associated it with like some negative stuff in my past and like my brothers, and I was just like, no, my path is being this like entertainment lifestyle talk show host. How's wrestling going to help me? And I didn't know anything about the company. I didn't realize that they had just spreads. I mean, like their online presence is ridiculous.
Massive.
Their YouTube, So I wasn't really sure. And like, I just thought I was going to be, and at the time they were hiring me to be like a ring announcer. And I was like, I don't think my voice has ever done any of those noises before. I just don't think it's for me. So yeah, but at the time I was leaving because I quit West 2 News, followed Love. Don't do that.
Stop.
Followed Love to Phoenix, Arizona, but also thought there's going to be some job opportunities for me there. There wasn't. I stopped loving. I'm kidding. But things changed in my personal life. And at the same time is when WWE reached out. And I was way out in Phoenix where I had no friends. Mm-hmm. And WWE was going to bring me right back to Orlando where all my friends were. So I was like, you know what? Take advantage of every unexpected opportunity has been a mantra of mine since I was a little girl. Mm-hmm. I'll learn to love it. If not, I'll spend a year there, I'll learn a lot, and then I'll move on to the next thing. 8 years later is when I finally stepped away. And I hear people have stories like that all the time. You get there, you learn, you fall in love with what you're doing, and then it just, boop.
The 8 years flies by.
I'm like, I was a babe. I mean, I guess I was like your age when I got there. Not calling you a baby.
Isn't that so crazy,
for me,
though?
I was like a young, and just like you're way further ahead in your career and your life than I was back then. So seriously, just take the compliment. It's true. You have a lot more confidence going than I did.
Thank you.
But grateful for it.
So then you fully immerse yourself in that WWE world.
Yes, I did.
Okay, there's one specific person that I want to ask you about.
This is the only reason why he asked me to come on the show. He's waiting to ask me about this one person.
No, literally, it's not. We got a lot to go through. But when you talk about wrestling, there's constantly a person that's brought up, and it's Paul Heyman.
Okay,
I can
talk about Paul.
I've never met Paul, but Paul's story is very similar in a lot of ways to like us.
Hustler. He was a hustler.
And that was something that I respect a lot about him, and the fact that you guys worked together. Mm-hmm. I was always curious, like, what was the best thing or the greatest thing that you learned working with Paul?
Man, I think just do it. Oh my gosh, that's Nike. They're not sponsoring this podcast.
Cutting that out.
Paul was just like, it was so fun working with him because, WWE, we all know it's scripted. Like, we can say that now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like, pretended like it wasn't scripted for all these years. And I told you, I'd be given a script. And a lot of times, they give us our scripts early in the day. I started telling writers, don't hand it to me until right before I go live because, it changes like 10 times before you go live. And then you have something memorized and you have to relearn. I hate that.
Yeah.
But then most of my segments were with Paul, and Paul would never look at the script. Like literally, I'd be like, I have to say it, and he'd crumple up and throw it out. Like, no, you just follow me. And that's how like all these backstage segments were like born. Like Paul just riff, ad lib, this is improv, just go. And he would just try it. And Paul was such a mastermind that like nothing, at first I'd get kind of worried that I was gonna get in trouble because like whoever's in the truck is like, that's not what you're supposed to say, have Vince in my, But like I never once, in like the many times that we went completely off script, did I ever get any kind of trouble. If anything, it became like a viral thing on social media, and then the writers started writing in the way that we were doing things. Like they loved it, and it just became this thing for years. And so yeah, I think Paul. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it for anybody who's new in the company. Don't just go try things without asking. But once you like get your groove, it's in whatever you're doing. Just like don't be afraid to just kind of step out of the box a little bit and like. Be you. Yeah.
And I mean, okay, so you were trained as a journalist in many ways. So there's a certain way that you were brought up in doing things. So for Paul to just say, you know what, follow me, let's improv, let's do this. Like for you, were you worried? Like what, like how did you overcome those fears that you were facing at that time?
Just with Paul next to me. Like I wouldn't have done any of that without him.
Yeah.
Like,
so rather than overthink it, you just did it.
Yeah, I just did it. Like, and then I love improv. Like I do comedy sometimes. Like that's, I can improv and I go, it's great. And if you're doing it with somebody that you trust, like I've also had to do improv with another superstar who, this is all over the internet. Great friends with the guy, but LA Knight. LA Knight is also really good on the microphone. But if he doesn't give you a heads up before you go live, he's going to switch things up on you. You're probably going to mess that up, especially if you're not used to it. Yeah. And so with Paul, he would at least like kind of tell me where he's going to riff here a little bit, just like. But there was one of my final interviews at WWE that went like all over the internet, and the fans came after me for it. Is with LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes. We had just gotten off I think we just got back from France and Saudi. Nobody was like awake. All of our eyes were like this, and the segment was a disaster. Yeah. Because of me and Carmelo, we just kind of messed her whatever up. But LA Knight just completely went off book. But I got distracted. What was I talking about? All loved LA Knight. No one's mad about that anymore.
Yeah.
But I just think, hey, okay. That's what I refused to say on the segment that got me in trouble. So there you go.
No, but I mean, truthfully, when you look back at that moment, how do you feel?
Oh, it's fine. To me, it was funny. It was funny to me right after. It just, unfortunately, the internet wrestling community is probably one of the worst communities that exist. They are just mean. And so at that point, I think I'd quit maybe a month after that. But then once I stepped down, instead of it being like me celebrating my years, it was like, we all knew Kayla was probably going to get fired after that segment with LA Knight. I'm like, are y'all
that's not
really?
The reaction that,
And also, that's not how it works,
Yeah, it's not that deep.
It's not that no one can, I went straight into Gorilla and talked to the heads, and they were like, were you supposed to say yeah there? I was like, nah, they're okay. Like, no one was mad about it. So when I look back, the only thing that stings a little bit is still knowing, like, there's people who just like to
run with that narrative.
Run with it and kind of like take you down when you're trying to like feel good about yourself. But that's also another whole episode for another day.
No, yeah. We'll close off the WWE section right now. I feel like during your tenure there, you were able to help shatter a lot of glass ceilings. And I'm curious to know, like, at the time that you were there, were you able to witness that, like, what you were doing? Or was it more about something that, like, once you left, looking in, you were able to see the impact that you had?
I think I had a greater appreciation. I think, it's hard. The thing about working for WWE is, or any company like that, it's so fast paced. Like, you don't really have time to sit and reflect because you're getting on a plane to fly to the next city, and then you're trying to get some sleep, and then you wake up and you're like, it's WrestleMania again. Yeah. I started getting all those opportunities when the pandemic happened because Renee Paquette had left, Charlie Caruso was gone. They didn't have anybody to step up to the plate, and so I had to just do it. And at the time, I had only been doing backstage interviews. The bump hadn't been born yet. And so next thing you know, they're like, all right, Kayla, you're doing the first kickoff show at Raymond James Stadium.
Crazy.
And it was a 2-day kickoff show. Like, that was a huge thing to be thrown into. Yeah. And I had never done a kickoff show. I did it, had a blast. There were rain delays. We had to, like, do improv. Like, 2 days later, I'm like, wow, I just did that. And then I became the host, doing Talking Smack with Paul. And then The Bump was born. I got asked to host that show, which was a highlight of my career in WWE, possibly my career thus far.
Yeah.
So when I left, I realized, like, the Bump had kind of gone away. the kickoff shows, they kind of shuffled up with the new management. I was like, I'm not really doing anything anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Like, I hit the ceiling and my, things rotate. Which is when I ultimately made the decision, it's time for me to walk away so I'm not wasting my opportunity or anybody else's. But when I sit back now, and especially in this quiet time I'm taking, I'm like, I really did pretty much everything that could have been done there and was able to bring new opportunities. I feel like I was able to open up the door for especially other female broadcasters. So I feel really, it's sad. I get sad sometimes because I'm like, dang, I stayed because I miss it. But actually, ultimately, I'm really proud.
Yeah. And ultimately, to make the decision to leave a position like that is a difficult one. I mean, I was in a similar position when I left iHeartRadio because for me, it was like I was 19 years old and I reached, producer. And it's kind of like I went to my news director and I was like, okay, so what do I work towards now? Because they had told me initially, like when I first went in, you can't interview, put it on hold. And then if you want to be a host, there's people in line and you got to wait your turn. So I was like, okay, I'll be the best producer that I can be. But then it just became like Andro was doing all of the work that the other people didn't want to do because I was the youngest, and it's okay, you do it. But I remember like my boss just looked at me and she was like, well, I've been in the same position for 15 years, no complaints. And I remember I was like, yeah, no, not me though.
Yep, I remember having that feeling too. It's like, I don't want to wake up in 8 more years and be like, what have I done?
I felt like I was being put in like a box, and somebody had told me, they were like, it just seems like they're chopping your wings for no reason.
Yeah.
So for you to make that decision to ultimately leave, would you say that was like one of the hardest decisions of your life, or was it more of a decision that like you were actually at peace with?
Yes and no. I've known for a while I was going to make that decision. I always told myself it was a weird time frame and it made no sense. I always said, like, around year 4, I said, I don't want to see year 8 here. And I was like, and then when I quit, I was 2 or 3 months shy of year 8. It was a weird goal I'd set for myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see year 8. So I was ready to do it. Unfortunately, my outside opportunities weren't there yet, which I have a bad habit of quitting jobs before I have another one lined up. Same. I don't recommend it, but it's something I just do.
I mean, same for me, but I'm of the belief that like everything that's meant to happen will just end up happening when it needs to.
Yeah.
So when I left, I saw that time, okay, let's build.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never gave myself the time to just kind of like sit there and because if I did, I know that I wouldn't have like got back up and taken
because then you have to
action.
like do that whole start process again, and like starting something, especially from nothing, as you know,
it's hard.
It's very difficult,
especially in Los Angeles. I mean, everybody here in Los Angeles has their own accomplishments, and I feel like being in Los Angeles, it's a constant like, okay, how can I one up this person? And that's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I just got to that place where I was like, okay, now at least with what I'm doing, I feel like I have an impact in like changing the industry moving forward for the people that like come after. Would you say the same thing for you?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we all have the opportunity to, and I think just continuing to prove that you don't need a huge, name behind you to push you. To push you, because I've even experienced working for those larger companies doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to become, larger at what you do either. So, yeah.
It's an interesting, like, complex, I think, to be in a situation like that where, because my boss at the time, she was like, yeah, you're 19, you're throwing this all away. People like work their whole life to get here. But it was just more about like, but I'm not fulfilled doing this.
And that's what it is. It's like, are you fulfilled? And that's what I was losing was my fulfillment. People see me leaving WWE, and I get it still every day. Like, you're going to be nothing without that machine behind you. And I was like, if you don't understand it unless you understand it. But like you said, if you're not fulfilled, then what are you doing it for?
Wasting time.
You see people. Have you seen the new movie, The Substance? Okay, that movie was so eye opening. But I just love how we started and ended on Hollywood Boulevard. And at the end of the movie, we see when her blob version of herself is just whatever that little thing is erased. And I'm like, that's what's gonna happen to all of us at the end of the day. So are you want to get erased off of history, knowing that you did everything that fulfilled yourself, or do you want to like be erased, knowing, like, realizing that you're still unhappy because you spent your whole life just trying to look the part for other people.
And please other people.
And please other people. And it's hard not to be a people pleaser in this industry. Oh my gosh, it's hard.
Is that something that you struggled with?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like,
how did you overcome the people pleasing?
I mean, I'm not saying I have completely. It's a work in progress.
It's a constant thing for me too. Yeah. I feel like in the industry that we're in, we feel like we have to please people, but I feel like the people that stand out are the ones that say, you know what, like, no, I'm going to do it my own way.
Yeah. And we're selling a product. So we have to understand pleasing people is part of the gig. That's how we're getting the paycheck. But to an extent, like you said earlier, you're not doing it just to get clicks and get the headline, just what's the juiciest story.
Yeah.
There's thousands of those out there. But you want people who aren't coming to watch your show. You don't want people coming to your show because of who's sitting in this chair. You want them to come to the show because of who's sitting in that chair.
No, exactly. That means, I was thinking about that yesterday. That's actually so crazy that you say that. I'm curious. I feel like in this industry also, it's very important to bet on yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
When is a time that you bet on yourself and maybe you didn't expect it to like work in the way that you wanted it to, but it ultimately did end up working in that way? What's a situation?
Have me back on in about 6 months and I'll tell you. No, I'm kidding.
Start the time.
That's what I feel like that's been like the basis of my whole career. Quitting my West job, betting on myself in my career, getting a WWE job, currently going through the betting on myself again. I've booked a few things since I've quit WWE. So like, I think this is probably going to be my entire career. It's just going to be constantly betting on yourself because ultimately it'd be nice to be we all want to be successful financially. We're not going to front on that, but like be successful financially, be doing whatever it does to fulfill you. And it's because you did it. You don't have a big name. You might get, Spotify might be coming after you because they want some, but like it's your thing. It's your name. And, like the Oprah Winfrey show, who it wasn't just Oprah doing it either.
And like the Kayla Becker show.
Like the Kayla Becker show.
Yeah. No, I think it's just so cool to me that you have literally been able to pave your path. And then also too, I think another cool thing about you is that despite everything that has led you here, you've still remained authentically yourself.
Aw, I try.
But that's the truth. Like even in the WWE machine, like you weren't like a different character. Like I feel like the person that was presented on TV is the exact same person that's sitting here right now.
And that took time too, because early days of WWE, we are all very we were told as announcers, like by our former boss, that we could not have a personality. Like, do not smirk, do not raise an eyebrow, do not respond.
So unnatural.
But that's just how he wanted it.
Yeah.
And because I think one of our backstage interviewers once raised an eyebrow during a Chris Jericho segment. And I guess it took some attention from Chris Jericho. So we weren't allowed to have, and that does a lot negative. I'm still
trying to outgrow those things, right?
And I'm struggling with it now. After being there for that long, there were a lot of positives about working there. I never want to take that away. But the negative part of working for a company like that is so scripted and so just maneuvered, is that if you are a creative person, a lot of times you can find your creative, just being beaten to the ground or told that you're not supposed to be or that you're not. And so that's something I'm trying to come out of now. Oh damn, wait, no, I was good at this before them. Let me find my own voice and my own step again.
Yeah. Do you struggle with imposter syndrome sometimes?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah, right? How, even at the highest levels, how would you deal with that?
It kind of goes hand in hand. I think just remember, it sounds so good. Remember where you came from. But yeah, we are supposed to be here. If we were that young when we discovered this passion of ours, when, so many people go through life never finding their passion. And you said earlier, bouncing from thing to thing because they can't figure out what it is that makes them happy. We are some of the few who knew so young of who we were and what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I think I try to take myself and put myself back in 9-year-old Kayla's brain sometime and just make myself just remember no, you're supposed to be here. This is your destiny, girl.
Exactly.
Listen, hot little mocha. This is where you're supposed to be.
No, okay, but let's talk about that 9-year-old Kayla. If you can go back and talk to her and give her some career advice, what would you tell her?
Just don't waver. Just always no, this is you. This is no matter how many people say you're bad at your job, just consider the source who's saying that to you. What are they doing with their lives?
Exactly.
And I think just never waver.
And now it's led us to this beautiful phase in your life. now. And
beautiful phase of unemployment.
no, you know what though?
I'm kidding.
Like I told you from the beginning, I think that this next stage of your life is about to like surpass everything that you did before.
Thank you. I hope so. I hope so. I feel it. Like I do feel it. Like I feel.
Because it takes guts to leave a position like that to really bet on yourself. Like, I mean, that's the thing that I feel like is very overlooked about what you're doing right now is that you really took the initiative and said, you know what, like, I'm going to say bye to this when a lot of people probably wouldn't. And I'm going to pursue the things that you're passionate about. So like acting. Yeah. How do you approach like acting as opposed to like other projects that you have in the past?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like, sorry, I keep hitting this mic because my shirt, I just want to make sure I'm not inappropriately flashing anybody. I should have thought about that. Okay, sorry. Acting is cool because I feel like with WWE, it was so easy to transition over because it's so like, you just kind of get all the skills you need from being a WWE person. But get to have so much more fun with it. Like the movie that I did with some of my favorite actors. I mean, I still like can't believe, like my first movie was with Ron Perlman and Justin Long, who I've been massive fans of forever.
That's so crazy.
And what's funny is when I was younger, watched Jeepers Creepers, and I was like, oh my God, like I've had like this massive like professional crush on Justin Long. And being like, you know, if I ever get to do a movie, I want my first movie to be with Justin Long.
You manifested that.
I manifested that.
That's crazy.
And like the fact my very first movie, and it's funny because like when I met him, I was so nervous. I was like, okay, all of our scenes were together, but we didn't really talk.
No way.
And so like I went up to him, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hype myself up. And I was like, what am I gonna say to him? I have this whole like speech in my head about how he inspired me and like whatever. And I went up to him and I was like, Justin Long, is it? Just like acting like I didn't even know his name.
He must have been like,
He was so nice. He's like, you know, we had a conversation and that was the end of it.
That's so crazy.
Oh my God, I know.
Wait, how was that, meeting your idols? Because I've met a few of my idols and
it all was great. I'm so glad it wasn't one of the situations where you don't want to meet your idols.
I've had crazy situations.
Really? Like negative, crazy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This was great. I'm sorry for you, but I had a great experience. Ron Perlman was just like everything you would ever expect.
A gem, yeah.
So great. And like we had mutual friends. He knows several of the wrestlers, so we got to talk about that. Dave Arquette, who I've been friends with for a while, but always love working with Dave Arquette. Yeah. He's so funny. Ashley Benson, I was a big Pretty Little Liars fan, so it was kind of like wild for me to be doing scenes with her. Jake Lacey, we all love Jake Lacey. The Office, I was working for Clark Duke.
That's so crazy. What a lineup.
So that was like a great, and I did that. I actually was shooting, my final show in WWE was Madison Square Garden. And huge. I didn't even get to Madison Square Garden or back to New York City until like 7 a.m. And I had not slept because I was shooting the movie until 4 a.m.
Oh, snap. So right after.
Yeah, it's shooting in Jersey. And then I had this whole issue where I ended up in a police station. And
wait,
then
what?
Yeah, I had a bad situation with an Uber. He almost like killed me in a car accident.
Stop.
It's like 3 or 4 a.m. I play a sophisticated exotic dancer in the movie, and I'm still dressed fully like it in the back of this Uber, and these cops pull us over, and they're probably thinking that I'm like a streetwalker for hire. You know, it was ridiculous.
Stop.
But then they found the situation. I was almost in tears. I was so scared, and they're like, "Do you want us to take you back to the station and wait for another car?" So I did. It was great. And then they like looked me up, and they're like, "Oh,
wow."
But then I ended up pulling it. That was how my last show, no sleep. But I couldn't have asked. I mean, that's how you go out. Yeah. Shooting a movie and then going to Madison Square Garden and then calling it a day.
That's actually kind of crazy.
I know.
Whoa.
I know. But
no, whoa, what an experience, huh? Yeah. Like, that's wild. So, WWE, very fast paced, but then the acting world is very slow. I'm sure you like being on set. Like, it takes, that's the thing that I feel like people don't really take the time to really like understand. You're on a set for like hours just waiting for your time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because like my scene, one of my scenes was like the final scene.
Oh,
so we didn't get to shoot till
there like
3 or 4 a.m. Yeah.
That's the worst.
And I had gotten there like at 10 a.m. So yeah, it was a very long day. But it was worth it. I was just watching everybody and just taking it all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the greatest thing that you learned on that set?
Don't be afraid to ask people for help. Like I think because it was such an all-star cast, I didn't want to come across as the noob, you know?
The noob.
So I think just being okay going up to someone more experienced and being like, hey, I'm new at this.
Yeah.
What do you think about if I do it like this? Or like, how would you like take people? Because I know for them, it means a lot to them that you are taking the time to like appreciate their art.
It's a respect thing.
It's a respect thing. Because if like a new interviewer came to WWE and did that, and that has happened, I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool that they actually care enough about what I think to ask. So.
Wow, that's really cool. So when does the movie come out?
I don't know anything. I filmed it, and then I don't know anything else.
That's
And
exciting.
if I did,
though.
I can't say anything.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Do you have other projects kind of like lined up that you're working on?
Yes, I'm in the waiting room. A lot of stuff I just can't talk about, but yes. And so with acting and with hosting, so I'm really trying to find a good balance of just doing both and not just being tied down to just one spot. So, and then I'm hoping like again getting more in the horror field, like this Killing Time with Kayla show. I really hope it like takes off. I've been talking to some streaming networks who actually potentially want to stream it on their network.
Sick.
So it's going to turn more into like a thing, like with like guests. But right now I'm just trying to get the online presence out there. And, you know, everyone likes talking about scary movies 365 days a year. Right?
Yeah. Name your favorite scary movie.
Oh my gosh. I know this one. This is a trick. This is when you get murdered if you answer that question. Scream reference. The Shining probably is all-time favorite. I've actually been this Friday's Friday the 13th, so I've been going back and rewatching all of the Friday the 13th movies. Have you watched those?
I don't
do scary?
I don't do scary.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. You're probably a lot more mentally stable.
Honestly,
than
I went to Halloween Horror Nights this year for the first time.
Were you so scared?
I wasn't like so scared, but like there were aspects that were kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like it
is scary. I mean, it's scary.
To a degree.
The jump scares can
The
get
jump
you.
scares is what got me.
Yeah.
Like I thought the rest of it was really funny. Like I was walking around Universal Studios just kind of like laughing. Like it's a fun experience.
I understand
but I don't know how you sit there and like watch the movies.
I love it. It just like brings me a lot of peace.
Really? What's the first horror movie you remember watching?
Actually, I did a show on this for Killing Time last week. When I was very young, my older siblings were big horror fans, and so they would get me to watch movies with them, way younger than I should have. And the very first movie that ever scared me, I just rewatched the first time because it's getting a remake. And it's not scary, but as a 6-year-old, Idle Hands was terrifying.
Stop.
I duct taped and saran wrapped my windows because I was afraid that that severed hand was going to come in and kill me in my sleep. Devin saw his hand. Oh my gosh. That was the first movie that scared me as a little kid. And then it was like my gateway drug. Started watching the Chucky movies, Stephen King's It. And then just from there, you know, Friday the 13th movies, you know, Freddy's, Halloween, all the classics.
Would you ever write or direct your own horror film?
Absolutely. I've already been working on writing, yeah. So,
no way.
Oh my gosh, that would be a dream.
Would it take place in Alabama?
It should.
It really should.
I haven't actually figured out where it's going to take place. Right now, just in some backwoods. That sounds pretty much like Alabama, doesn't it?
Hey, I could kind of
I have a lot of horror stories from growing up in Alabama. That'll be part 2 of this interview.
No, yeah. Stay tuned. But let's go back. So, GloZell. You mentioned you had a funny story about GloZell.
Yes. So I got to book my morning show when I worked at Wesh. So I'd always bring in like the most random people that my news director didn't even know. I brought in male strippers once, and she was like, "That's a little going too far," but it's fine. Everyone was very awake for that one. But I was a big YouTube fan. I went to all the YouTube conventions. I was close to a lot of famous YouTubers back then, and I'd met GloZell at like Playlist Live in Orlando. And I was like, and this was like at the peak, I feel like, of GloZell.
Cinnamon Challenge GloZell.
Cinnamon Challenge, that's exactly it. And so I had this ice cream company coming on called Twisty Treat, who was big in Florida. And I thought this would be a really fun collaboration, have them and GloZell.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a huge get for me. So I'm driving to work, and I'm like a mile away, and I'm putting on my mascara. I see the West 2 News tower in the distance, and all of a sudden, I just, bam, like run into this like SUV in front of me.
Stop.
And like their car was fine. I was driving a little Nissan Versa, so of course my car is dented. I didn't care about my car. I'm like, we're going live in 10 minutes. And so I got out and asked the lady, she's like, I'm fine, but we have to wait for the cops to get here. I'm freaking out. The cops, I have one eyelash on, the cops pull up. I'm like, listen, sirs, I don't know if you know who GloZell is, but I got a mega star in that TV station.
She's waiting for me.
If y'all can just let me leave my car right here, I'll be back in 30 minutes. My segment goes on in 15 minutes. And they were like, obviously, absolutely not. I mean, and I like called my news director. I was like, "Can you push GloZell? Can you push GloZell?" I mean, I pull in. I don't even. I park my car like in the driveway of the news station.
And you're just running.
I run in. I think one eyelash is still on, and then I literally. They're about to have another interviewer do the interview, which I would have been furious of. But I jumped on, got my mic pack on. She probably even, I wonder if she even knew I was just, it's completely.
No way.
Yeah, and we did the interview. And I think we like ate ice cream. We like ate ice cream really fast together.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
What? No. Have you told her about this?
I don't think so. I don't think I wanted her to know. I didn't want her to thought I didn't look professional, you know?
Whoa. No. So GloZell for me, I showed up one year at VidCon and so it was hard for me growing up to get like credentials for things. So again, I showed up to VidCon and I realized where the media was. So I just snuck in.
Oh, wow. This kid.
And the person that stopped me was GloZell. And she goes, "What are you doing?"
That's amazing.
And I was like, "Actually, I want to interview you." And she's like, "Really?" And then she brought me in, and that interview is still on the YouTube channel.
Oh, wow.
But the crazy thing is, so 10 years later, she was the first interview for One-on-One.
Look at that. That's amazing.
So full circle,
wow,
10 years
does she
later.
remember you?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I love stories like that.
Yeah. So it's just crazy that like she was the one that stopped me, but then also the one that kind of like
That's how it
propelled me
works.
forward with the interview.
That's how it works. I love that.
Yeah. Crazy. Crazy. That's actually such a funny like thing that we have mutually.
GloZell of all people.
Yeah, no. What up, GloZell?
What up, Glo?
No, okay, so we'll wrap this up. I feel like as humans, we don't really give ourselves flowers and we don't really take the time to really look around and say, damn, I'm proud of myself for this.
Very true.
What is something hard or difficult that you have done the last 6 months that you want to give yourself flowers for?
I mean, are we talking about the obvious? Quitting my job.
Say it. There you go. Yeah.
Quitting my job.
There you go.
Yep, going into the abyss of uncertainty, but I do not regret it one bit. I'm very proud of myself for it.
No, I think it, again, like I said earlier, it's a very commendable and respectable thing. Like I know a lot of people in your position really wouldn't take that chance. So I think that says a lot about you. And also I think another thing that says a lot about you is the fact that like you drove here and like you could have been doing something else. And again, like I hope you know, like it really does mean a lot to me that you're here, and it's very full circle for me too. So thank you so much.
One day I'll come to you for a job. So just remember that.
Stop.
Just remember that.
Stop. No. But Kayla, where can people find you?
Yeah, Kayla Becker pretty much everywhere, and then Killing Time with Kayla if you want to talk horror movies, and yeah, that's it.
No, I'm so grateful for your time. This is such an honor for me. Thank you for watching another episode of One-on-One. I'll see you guys next week.